So my presentation somehow didn't make it in, but I can tell you about Sitka Gold. So Sitka Gold, we're active in North America in 4 different jurisdictions. We're focused on our RC Gold project in the Yukon. That is in the Tombstone Gold Belt. You've heard of other projects in the Tombstone Gold Belt, including the recent discovery of Snowline, the Valley deposit. We're in the same belt of rocks. It stretches across Yukon and Alaska. 93 million year old intrusions, so there's a real genetic association with these deposits. So the further east you go, that's where you get the Valley deposit. We're in the central part of the Yukon, close to where Banyan Gold that Kai talked about briefly, Victoria Gold's Eagle Mine, Hekla's Silver Mine. We're in the central part of the Yukon where there's great access. You get into our property by flying into Dawson City, and then it's a 2-hour drive into the property. So it's got great access. Dawson has a paved runway, international airport, so you can fly 737s. Access in the north is a very important part of, obviously your mining costs. So that's a huge part of the equation is the location that this project has. After Fort Knox was discovered in Alaska, Fort Knox has been producing for over a couple decades, produced 9 million ounces of gold. Their initial grade was about 0.9 grams per ton. So these are large, bulk tonnage, big bulldozers and rock trucks kind of deposits. After that was discovered, that's when people came over the Yukon because they knew that same geology stretched over. So that's when our project was first looked at. And in 2019, in the most recent phase of exploration, Sitka Gold went in there and drilled the first holes on 2 areas known as Blackjack and Eiger, and that's when we made the discovery of 2 deposits. Put out an initial resource after a couple years of drilling in January of 2023 of 1.34 million ounces of gold, inferred pit-constrained resources in 2 deposits that are about a couple kilometers apart. So since then, we've done an additional 2 years of drilling, mostly on the one deposit called Blackjack that was the higher grade deposit of the 2. That initial resource in the Blackjack, which was 900,000 ounces at a grade of 0.83 grams per ton, that was based on 7,500 meters of drilling. Since then, we've done 2 years of drilling, another 14,000 meters of drilling, and so we're updating our resource now. Since we drilled that initial resource, there's kind of a metric in this business. It's gram meters of gold contained in a drill hole. So you take the assay, for instance, 1 gram per ton, and if you multiply that, you add 1 gram over 10 meters, that's a 10 gram meter hole. One of the metrics is a 100 gram meter hole, and that indicates that you have something that's actually potentially, economic. In that initial resource, we had 9 100 plus gram meter holes. Since then, we've had an additional 13 in our program to expand that deposit. So as I said, we're working on updating that deposit. So obviously, we haven't defined the limits of it yet. We've got a whole bunch of intersections in there. That resource is going to go up, and the grade looks to be quite well if you look at our drill holes that we've intersected. So that's been the focus of the company in the last few years. In this area called Clear Creek, there's a cluster of intrusions. So these are granites coming up. So when you look at Fort Knox, there's a single granite that they've been mining on. The Eagle Mine is a single granite. Banyan Gold, they're just outside the granite. They haven't found it yet. Their rocks host things outside. But anyways, we have a cluster of 7 of these granitic intrusions that all are known to be gold-bearing. So we've found the 2 deposits that we haven't fully defined, Blackjack and Eiger. And last year we acquired some ground at the end of the year from Victoria Gold. And it's the southern part of the Clear Creek intrusions. And so we've got another 4 really high-quality targets there. We drilled 2 of them, and we had discovery holes on them. So the one area, it's called Rosgobble. These places have weird names at our project. It was 5 kilometers south of our Blackjack deposit. And our first drill hole in that was 105 meters of 1.05 grams per ton. So when you look at the Eagle Mine was producing around 0.63 grams per ton. Banyan Gold, their resource is around 0.63. Fort Knox, as I mentioned, started out at 0.9, but currently Fort Knox is mining 0.3 grams per ton. So the grade in this Blackjack deposit, as I mentioned, is higher than the average. But then also the Ross Gobble that we just drilled on has got really nice grades as well. And that area was last drilled with these shallow holes by Kennecott in 1995 to 50 meters depth. Nobody's ever drilled there since. It's never seen a diamond drill hole. So anyways, it's something that we're pretty excited about because it's an additional new discovery. So I've been making forward-looking statements. I'll say them again. There's that initial slide. We're up in the Yukon. You can see we're also in Nevada, Arizona, and Nunavut. So we're not a one-trick pony, but we're focused on that Yukon project. There's that belt of rocks. You can see Fort Knox in Alaska. You can see farthest to the east is the Snowlines Valley deposit. Again, these are all very similar styles of deposits hosted in the same rocks. This is the area of the western part of the belt where we sit. Does this show up on here? No, gets sucked up. That's where Victoria Gold Mine is, to 50 kilometers to our east. Banyan's there. So it's got a lot of roads into it, great access because this area has seen placer mining for over 100 years. And since 2020, there's been 11 additional million ounces discovered in this part of the belt. And that map is probably about 150 kilometers side to side. There's our Blackjack and Eiger deposits. They're close together. I talked about the resource there. That was done a couple years ago. That resource is getting updated. I spoke about the holes that were drilled 7,500 meters to define that initial resource. Those yellow blobs are the outline of the resource in that initial resource, and you can see coming out of the page that there's a whole bunch of drill holes that have hit additional mineralization, so the deposit's grown, and we're working on that resource as we speak. That's just another view, so you can see where those holes that are outside that yellow area are additional mineralization that we've discovered. There's that chart I talked about. This graph shows on your left-hand side drill holes that were in that initial resource, and then since then, if you look at the gram meter column on the right-hand side, that gives you an idea of the contained gold in there. And a lot of our best holes has been since we put out that initial resource. We've drilled it down. We did 2 really deep holes this year to over 700 meters depth. So this deposit comes to surface, so there'll be an open pit component if it becomes a mine, but we also traced it deep enough that there's a potential for an underground portion of it. That's the ground that I mentioned we picked up earlier in the year. So this is kind of hard to read, but if you see on the very top part of the screen, that's where our Blackjack and Eiger deposit is. 5 kilometers due south is that Rosgobble stock where we made one of our new discoveries, and midway in there is the Pukelman stock where we made one of our new discoveries. So these are the drill holes on the Rosgobble. You can see those shallow holes. Those are about 50 meters depth that Kennecott did in 1995. Nobody's ever diamond drilled. We did, and we made 2 discovery holes there and hit mineralization down to 300 meters depth. Again, this is the Pukelman stock. Similar idea. We hit slightly lower grades than this, but we hit 350 meters of better than 0.3 grams, and there's also higher grade hits within that. So the potential of these 2 areas that we just drilled this year, got started on, is very good. So again, that's the footprint of these 2 areas. The Rosgobble, you can see there's old drilling that Kennecott did. They hit lots of gold in that. And we're just looking at stepping in there and doing diamond drilling because we can go deeper and we'll just step out. And our goal is to do 10,000 meters of drilling here and define an initial resource. Similar idea on the Pukelman. So it's 431 square kilometers, our project, big area. We're focused on this core area called the Clear Creek Intrusive Complex, where we have all these intrusions. We're doing 30,000 meters of drilling. We have $15 million in the bank, so we were one of the lucky ones in the tough year of financing. But we really made a lot of good discoveries, good drill holes, so we got a lot of support in the marketplace. Just quickly, this is our Alpha Gold project in Nevada. It's in the Cortez Trend. It's got 20 million, 15 million ounce deposits in that trend. We're to the south of it. We've made what we feel is a legitimate discovery there. Not hitting a deposit yet, but certainly we're finding gold in this area that was previously overlooked. We've had plenty of gold hits in the drilling. So again, it's not our main focus, but we have a good pipeline of projects. This is Burro Creek in Arizona, gold-silver vein, sticks out of the ground. Again, this has a historical resource on it, and will be, these are all permitted for drilling, so we're looking at ways of monetizing these so we can continue to concentrate on our Yukon project. And we have a copper project up in Nunavut, only 40 kilometers from Tidewater, permitted for drilling. It's named Copper Mine River area for a reason. There's a lot of copper up there. This is a brand new discovery at surface. So again, this has never been drilled. It's permitted for drilling, easy one to go in and test out. Right at surface, there's copper up to 14% and 2 ounces silver. So a very compelling target that everybody perks their eyes up when we talk about it. I'll just skip that. That's a little geophysics. We've got a strong board of directors, lots of geologists. Myself, I'm a geologist. I'm the VP of Corporate Development. I've worked in the Yukon most of my career, 20 years with the Yukon Geological Survey. So I've been all over the Yukon looking at these things for a long time. I really like this property. I've known the people I'm working with. I joined Sitka about 3 years ago. I met Corco and Don Penner 30 years ago exploring in the Yukon, so easy decision to join this group. As I mentioned, we've done well. We've raised a lot of money, $15 million in our treasury. You can see when we were starting to release assay results at the end of last year that we had nice price accumulation. Our last raise was flow-through money, $5 million, $5 million at 51 cents, no warrants. We're starting to get coverage. People are seeing a lot more interest in us as we hit that kind of $100 million market cap. So Catalyst, we're redoing that resource. We're well financed, 15 million bucks. We've finished acquisition of this entire Clear Creek area. Each one of those intrusions has the possibility of hosting a multi-million ounce deposit, and 30,000 meters of drilling planned, and we've got lots of other projects in our pipeline that we're looking at monetizing as well. So I think I started talking as fast as Kai, so I'll leave it at that for you. Thanks very much.